And speaking of killers that are not being adequately addressed by the leaders who serve us, the Trump administration is currently urging Virginia's Democrat Governor Abigail Spanberger to not follow through on releasing an illegal foreign national with more than 30 prior arrests who is now accused of fatally stabbing a local mother at a bus stop to death. An innocent person who was simply in the wrong place at the wrong time in a state that lets you commit nearly 40 crimes against others in the community and still does nothing, no matter how glaring the warning signs are and how high the risk is to others. Just last month, Spanberger ignored the realities and pressed ahead with her ideology by signing an executive order that ended the previously required cooperation with ICE from state and local law enforcement in Virginia, shielding this guy. Only a few short weeks later, 32-year-old Abdul Jalal, a citizen of Sierra Leone, allegedly murdered a 41-year-old Virginia mother, Stephanie Minter, whose lifeless body was found where it lay at a bus stop on February 23rd. The Fairfax Police Department began a search for the suspect. Then a local businessman recognized the person that they were looking for as being Jalal, and they called the police, who arrested him one day after the murder. ICE lodged a detainer with those local police the very next day on February 25th, requesting that they hand Jalal over if he was going to be released back into the public again, in order to ensure that he is not, once more, for the 40th time, inflicted on the innocent local community, potentially leaving even more kids to grow up without their mother. According to DHS, Jalal has more than 30 previous arrests for serious charges, including rape, malicious wounding, assault, drug possession, identity theft, trespassing, larceny, firing a weapon, which he is not legally allowed to even have, that is a felony, contributing to the delinquency of a minor, and pickpocketing. Yet he is still here, thanks to sanctuary policies that won't turn even him over. And as a direct consequence of that unjustifiable decision, innocent children will now cry themselves to sleep without their mother for years to come. They will grow up, and on their wedding day, their mother will not be there because of this decision. On Monday, the White House Deputy Chief of Staff, Stephen Miller, called out the Democrat leaders of these sanctuary states who allow illegal immigrants like this, quote, to commit infinity crimes at the public's expense. DHS called on Spanberger and Virginia's sanctuary politicians to commit to not releasing this murderer and violent career criminal from their jail without notifying ICE. The Deputy Assistant Secretary for the Department of Homeland Security, Lauren Biss, said that this illegal alien's murder of an innocent, beautiful American woman came less than 24 hours before Governor Spanberger's demonization of ICE law enforcement. This heinous criminal is a perfect example of why we need cooperation from sanctuary jurisdictions and the importance of third country removals for the safety of the American people. But let's pivot back to Virginia. According to ABC 7, it turns out that a Fairfax County prosecutor was warned about the risk ahead of time when it came to releasing the illegal foreign national who then went on to fatally stab the 41-year-old mother, Stephanie Minter. Her killer, Abdul Jalal, had at least 30 previous arrests for serious charges, as we discussed earlier. But just to remind you, they included rape, malicious wounding, assault, drug possession, identity theft, trespassing, larceny, firing a weapon even though as an illegal he is not allowed to have a gun, that is a felony, contributing to the delinquency of a minor, and pickpocketing. So, with all that on his record, in November, an officer with the Fairfax County Police Department notified the office of the attorney for Fairfax County, Steve Descano, warning him that it was very likely that given his history, this illegal would continue his crime rampage if he was released. And that is all according to emails that were obtained by a reporter for 7 News, Nick Minnock, via a Freedom of Information Act request. The email from a credible source, a concerned police officer, read, quote, "I want to bring Mr. Jalaw's release to your attention, because Mr. Jalaw is one of the repeat and violent offenders we discussed when we met. I wanted to get your background on why he is out so soon and ask if his prior suspended sentence of, I believe, 5 years was pursued by your office. Unfortunately, based on this station's numerous dealings with him, it's not a question of if, but rather when he will maliciously wound or worse again. My role of keeping the public safe prompts me to follow up on his status. In addition to disregarding this entirely valid and now proven to be accurate warning, according to ABC 7, Steve Descano, who was responsible for ignoring this police officer and releasing this violent career criminal, responsible, therefore, for the violent killing of an innocent mother, was also responsible for the decisions to repeatedly drop most of the previous 40 charges against Jalal, rather than to hold him accountable for his own crimes like everyone else. And as a direct result, a woman is dead, and children in this country no longer have a mother. Well done, sir. ICE lodged a detainer with local police on February 25th, but according to ABC 7, the Democrat governor of Virginia, Abigail Spanberger, lets be known and responsible for the decisions we make with the power that has been entrusted to us, who, upon entering office, immediately ended a required cooperation agreement between law enforcement and ICE in her state, has now also said that she will not allow local law enforcement to honor the ICE detainer without a judicial warrant, which is not the standard for ICE. This, despite the fact that an email from August between local county police in her state stated that Jalal had over 100 interactions with their departments. His record began with domestic violence incidents, which were followed by multiple stabbings. That's according to reports by the local news. According to ABC 7, despite being identified as the offender in a stabbing that occurred back in May, he was granted bail at the end of July and re-inflicted on the community. 3 weeks later, he was in trouble again for assault after allegedly stomping a man's head into the ground. And days after he allegedly stabbed this poor young mother to death, Democrats in the victim's state, passed a whole series of bills, most of which won't be upheld in court in the long run, based on the fact that California's similar bills were ruled unconstitutional. But let's cause harm in the meantime with bills that are designed to make ICE be less able to remove these illegal, barbaric thugs by limiting the cooperation that local authorities are allowed to extend even further than it's already limited. There is a word for people who continue on blindly, despite the horrific consequences confronting their own eyes. And stupid doesn't begin to cover it. It's much more akin to the word for evil. Maliciousness is the word. Take note, Governor Spanberger, I'm talking about you. On Wednesday, the Democrats in Virginia's House passed bills that would end any local law enforcement cooperation with ICE, on top of barring ICE from making arrests within 40 feet of the polls. Because we want illegals voting illegally in our elections. How else are you going to pretend to win when your insane policies are this unpopular? They also banned ICE from arresting targets inside of state courts, where they would not be unless they had committed crimes. And they criminalized ICE officers for wearing masks, which, as I said, was overturned in California. All of that is according to ABC 7. Then, after Democrats in the House concocted this revolting pile of sewage that they have the nerve to call legislation, Senate Democrats jumped on board, and the bills are now headed to the desk of Virginia's Democrat governor, Abigail Spanberger, for her signature. Are you noticing a repeat word here? So, it's time to challenge these bills as being illegal and have them overturned in court. But in the meantime, note that this stunt came less than 2 weeks after Jalil brutally murdered poor Stephanie Minter and left her lifeless body at a bus stop like a discarded piece of trash. And while Democrats have all the empathy in the world for the serial criminal who took her life violently, and they will apparently go to any extent to protect him, they clearly have no sympathy at all. None. For the victim or for her children. How virtuous of you. Slow clap for the leaders of Virginia.